Great, so very warm welcome to Monday Night Meditation, the Brixton Buddhist community. So it's an opportunity for us to, as a community, old and new, to get together and kind of support each other in meditation. Particularly warm welcome to anyone who's joined us from the Journey and the Guide course. We just finished an 8-week course, which finished on Thursday. Jack is here as well, doing the tech. And we're both on the course. So a very warm welcome to you if you're coming off of that course and joining us now. So yes, it's basically an opportunity to meditate together, support each other in meditation, to explore meditation. And you can also see the different faces of the Buddhist community, very diverse community we've got. So you see different people presenting the meditation. But we'll do that in quite a systematic way. We've got this series going on at the moment. Meditations on Reality, or the 3 Marks of Existence, very kind of evocative title, and we're exploring that week on week for the next 6 weeks. So we started last week, so if you didn't see that, that's fine, you could still track back to that, but we're basically going to be continuing on with that reflection that we started last week. So Lisa's here, we're delighted that Lisa's here. She's going to be co-leading with me. Daisy May's here as well as team. So yeah, my name's Machinara if you don't know me. So yeah, so when you get a moment, it'd be good to get your name into the chat function so we know who's there and know who's kind of with us tonight, and then I'll be able to say hello. But I think before we get into that, let's take a little bit of time to, well, just arrive really, kind of come up to wherever we've got in our day, just come up to where we are right now, and Elise is going to help us do that now.
Okay, so welcome everyone. So as Machinara said, we're just going to do a short practice just to help us arrive. And that practice is called a 3-step or 3-stage breathing space. And it's just a really quick practice you can do at any moment of the day just to help ground yourself and help come back to a sense of your moment-to-moment experience. So starting off then by closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you to do so. And just adopting a upright but comfortable posture. So without any sense of strain, but just lifting up your spine a little bit from your base, just to help embody a sense of alertness in this cold and wet evening. Just allowing your hands to rest in your lap, nothing for them to do, just be at ease. And allowing your shoulders to roll back, and tucking in your chin slightly so that the top of your head lines up with the ceiling. And the first step of the breathing space is simply to become aware of whatever it is you're experiencing right now. So noticing what thoughts are going through your mind. And as best you can, not getting caught up in them, simply noticing any mental activity. Just allowing it to be there as part of your experience. Noticing what emotions are present right now. If no strong feelings are showing up right now, and just gauging what the overall feeling tone is of your experience. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Neither pleasant or unpleasant. And whatever it is, as best we can, bring in a warm and friendly interest to it. Not trying to change our experience, but just being aware of it. Allowing whatever's here to be here as best we can. And noticing any bodily sensations too. in any part of our body. And again, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, folding them within our awareness. Including them in our tuning of what we're noticing right now. Now moving on to the second step of the breathing space, gathering our awareness around our breathing. So choosing one place in the body where you experience the breath vividly, and as best you can, allowing your awareness to rest here. And just noticing the ever-changing sensations of breathing in and out. The movement of the body upwards on the in-breath, and the falling away of the body on the out-breath. Not trying to change our breathing in any way, just being aware of how we're already breathing. Noticing how the breath is changing in every moment. And whenever you notice that your mind's wandered away from the sensations of breathing, and has become caught up in listening or thinking or feeling, that's absolutely fine. It's just what our minds do. Minds jump around from one thing to another all the time. So in noticing that our mind has wandered away, we've become mindful again. So we can just gently bring our awareness back to the sensations of breathing. And now moving on to the third stage of the breathing space, expanding our awareness throughout the whole body. So now we're aware of our breathing, not just in the one place we were focusing on, but a sense of the whole body breathing. So expanding our awareness around our body. So it includes a sense of our contact with the floor, the whole of our sitting posture right up to the crown of the head, and aware of the breath moving in and out of the whole body. Having a sense of breathing in and out with whatever sensations we notice. And as we prepare to bring the practice to a close, when we hear the bell, we can perhaps form the intention to take this more spacious awareness into the next moments of the evening.
thanks, Lisa. Very good. Okay, good. So let's see who's out there. Great. So firstly, so excited every time I see Tony there from New Zealand. Hi, Tony. Oh, it's like crack of dawn in New Zealand. Hi, Harriet. Elephant and Castle, not so exotic, but nice too. We're local. Hi, Harriet. And hi, Ian. Hi, Cam. Good to have you with us, Peter. Hi, Alison. Charlotte. To see you. Good to have you with us. Pam. Jen. Jen says hello from America. So this is international. And Jo. She says, Daisy Marching, hi Daisy, Lisa Marching, hello to everyone watching at home. There's Brian, hi Brian, and Ollie's there as well. Right, so I still have a chance to have another look, so if you haven't put your name in there, just pop it in. It'd be good to hear from you. Okay, so so let's carry on this exploration that we started last week. Now, as I said, this is a series, a 6-week series, but but each evening is going to stand alone. Each evening is going to stand alone as a way of reflecting on in meditation, a way kind of lens that we can use in meditation. So don't worry if you haven't seen the first one, but it might be good to tune in. And you might want to set the intention to try and stay with the series if you can. And we'll build up a kind of, we'll just kind of build up this investigation together. Okay, so as I was saying last week, the Buddha is pointed to the fact that we have this belief, it feels like a very common sense belief, that we're in here somewhere, maybe somewhere in here behind the eyes, somewhere in here in the chest. You might feel yourself to be located somewhere, and then that's separate from this kind of real existent world that's out there, and that's very it's very useful, isn't it, to have that a sense of me and well, because then I can interact with other people and do stuff. But what he was pointing to is that it's good for practical purposes, but he's saying, the Buddha's saying that if we take this idea that we're fixed, in here, wherever we experience ourselves, and the world is out there fixed, that's the source of our kind of dissatisfaction, of our discomfort in this world. So it's quite a bold claim. So he's saying, look, this is the come and see practice. So don't take my word for it. Come and see for yourself on the level of your actual experience. How investigating whether that's actually true. Am I kind of fixed here with a fixed world out there in my actual experience, or is there a way, another way of looking at what's actually happening in my experience? Yeah? And he said that meditation was a really good way to explore that. So he pointed to these 3 marks or characteristics of existence. The first of which we're looking at is impermanence, he says that by investigating these 3 marks, kind of looking for them in our experience, we can start to experience ourselves as not as separate as we think and not as fixed as we think. There's a much more fluidity than we think. In fact, we put it saying it's actually like we're drunk. That's how erroneous this way of looking at things is. So as I say, it's really bold, that kind of claim, isn't it? Kind of outrageous almost. But let's see for ourselves. So we're looking at impermanence this week. So impermanence. So what we're talking about in terms of impermanence, we're talking about inconsistency. We're talking about change kind of happening all the time. Yeah. And we're looking at or seeing if kind of looking for that aspect of our experience, looking for that, does that lead to a kind of freedom? Does that lead to a sense of release, a sense of release? Yeah? So we're looking for both for that in our experience and our kind of response to doing that. Yeah? And as I said last week, I mean, impermanence is kind of really easy to accept on a head level. Stuff changes, like nobody's going to argue with that. But what I was pointing out is that we don't really behave in that way. Yeah, when things do change, we can be really shocked. Health, relationships, the weather, whatever it is, we can get. It can really throw us out when things change. Yeah? So what I want to draw out this, now really is. Well, what is our heart's response to impermanence, acknowledging change? What we're looking for in the meditation, at least is going to be leading us through a meditation which kind of is drawing our attention to that aspect. What we're looking for is a kind of response of release, of joy, that we know then that we're not forcing something, we're not kind of telling ourselves something, trying to force an experience. We know if there's a subtle sense of release and relax even, that we're actually just seeing things more as they are. Yeah? So we're kind of actually seeing things as they are, rather than trying to kind of force, kind of superimpose this idea of change onto things. Yeah? So the other thing I want to say is that depending on how pleasant or unpleasant or relatively unsure about whether it's pleasant or not a phenomenon is, our experience is, we're going to be more or less pleased to see it go. So it's really important to kind of point that out here, that kind of, I'm really not saying that a shocking kind of diagnosis, health diagnosis, something like that, should be met with kind of a subtle kind of joy or something, yeah? But we kind of are, in a way, we're just, in a way, kind of housing ourselves in that kind of reflection enough will allow us to ride that better, yeah? So that's the first thing to say. There will be a range of responses depending on how enjoyable something is and how much we want it to be still present in our experience, or how unpleasant it is and how happy we are for it to go. I think we can all agree on that. But on the broader level of this kind of universal or kind of fact of impermanence, that things, all things arise and all things pass away, there may be these range of responses. So first I'm going to just read you this little poem. This comes from the Diamond Sutra, very, very old Buddhist sutra. And it goes like this. This is a short part of the sutra. Thus should you think of all this fleeting world, like a drop of dew, or like a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. So the very ephemeral, or quite beautiful, but quite ephemeral images that we've been given there to take up for contemplation. So is life like that? Is life like that? So we can start to question that. We can start to look for that. And the heart's response may go in one of two kind of directions in a way. It may be, it's a very bittersweet reflection in impermanence. It may be that we reflect on impermanence and we may be moved to feel a kind of a melancholy. So much poetry has a kind of melancholy. So much poetry is about impermanence, the ephemeral nature of nature or relationships. but it can really draw out a kind of melancholy in that, a poignancy, even a kind of anxiety, even a deflation. God, is that it? Like, is that just it? Is that all everything is? There's nothing solid to hold on to. But other times, and I would say it really depends on kind of the level of our kind of background, kind of emotional positivity. I would say that is I'll say that's the kind of defining factor as to how we respond in a way. At other times, it can have this really mysterious quality, this beauty, this thrill, this kind of joy at seeing the effervescence of change. I remember walking in Brockwell Park just about a week ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and just turning around and seeing double rainbow, but the complete double rainbow. You know, and it's so beautiful because you know it's going to go, it's going to fade, it's not like a fixture. If that double rainbow was always there in Brockwell Park, I'd stop bothering with it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, double rainbow, right, let's go and get my cup of tea. But it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's joyful because of its nature of change and impermanence. So what I'm in a way suggesting, or what I'm suggesting is that we can open our hearts to the pathos of impermanence, this sense of loss, not being able to hold on to stuff, onto people, onto situations, ultimately onto our own lives. This is this existential situation that we're in, and sustained kind of reflection this way can lead to real tenderness. I've really noticed this. I was just saying to the guys here, you know, like I've had a series of kind of, shocking kind of health news in around my family and friends recently. It feels like part of a wider kind of zeitgeist, really. Everything feels like it's slightly more tenuous just at the moment. But there it is, it's been me, and my health has been tenuous. Happy to report it's on the mend, but it's been tenuous, and I'm just been recognising the tenuous quality of health, in my kind of, you know, closest people, but it's created a kind of openness to this human situation, really. Things I might not consider normally, like seeing an old person, I might just slightly write old people off. You know, like, of course they're old, they're going to be a bit doddery, you know. But I kind of, there's a little bit of that, you know. It's just a bit of more openness, you know, which I find really, really thrilling, actually. So let's get into meditation. How do we explore this in meditation? So last week we looked at a more kind of temporal change. We looked at the way things arise and then fade away over time. Yeah. And this week, Lisa's going to take us more into the way everything is kind of inconsistent, fluctuating in the moment, from one moment to the next, to the next, to the next. There's this kind of fluctuating quality, and we can tune into that quality. That's kind of fluidity, this effervescence, this what you call mini births and deaths, this flux, this shifting. Well, texture is a nice way to think about it. Think of it as a shifting, changing kind of texture in our experience moment to moment. So we're going to attempt to kind of remain engaged with that in the meditation. So a good example is the gong. Why don't you could just do the gong there a second, the sound of the gong. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So I don't know if you could actually hear that on camera, but you've got this sense of the sound of rising and passing. But when we sound the gong for the start of the meditation, just see if you can catch the micro fluctuations within the texture of the sound itself. Yeah? So that's something we can tune into moment to moment. Basically, just seeing things are not in a steady state. Yeah? And we can kind of notice that narrowly in terms of like, we'll say the gong, or like now I've got this lovely sound of the rain coming down, my dulcet tones, various ambient sounds here. So you can take the totality of sound, almost like a landscape of sound. Yeah. So it's interesting. You can zoom into one sound and its fluctuations, or you can kind of think of it more as a kind of landscape. Yeah. And then eventually you can start to draw in more and more of your experience. So sensation is like that. Everything is in the nature of that. Sensation, Lisa was mentioning, the feeling tone of our experience is like that, is changing, is subtly shifting. Even the mind itself. So as I've been talking, well, you've been zoning in and out, haven't you? We've all been zoning a bit in and out. So even the quality of the mind is unstable. You know, we'd like to say, we'd like to think, but that's just how it is. Our mind is fluctuating as well, moving in and out of attention. In fact, that's quite a helpful reflection because it makes it less of a problem. It makes it less of a thing. Like people come to meditation sometimes, it's like, oh no, I can't meditate. My mind is all over the place. As if like all our minds are all over the place. As if like that's just not the nature of minds. You know, especially when you first come to meditation, you might just kind of notice that. Basically, notice it more. That's all that's happening. So what we're going to take up, and Lisa's going to take up as the basis of our reflection, is the mindfulness of breathing. This is a classic 4-stage mindfulness of breathing that you'll find in any tree raptor centre, from Mexico City to Krakow to wherever you go in the world. You'll find this mindfulness of breathing taught in these 4 stages. So I'll go over very briefly. I know a lot of you are familiar with them already, but I'm going to just remind you. So the first 2 stages are basically to steady ourselves to the breath, yeah? So we're going to count. We use counting to kind of steady ourselves to the breath. Bring our attention to the breath, yeah? So it doesn't go off quite as much. So we breathe out, we count 1, breathe in, breathe out, we count 2. We just do it up to 10. In the second stage, we shift the focus of counting. So we count just before the in-breath, and then we breathe in, we breathe out, and then we wait, and then we catch with 2, breathe in and breathe out. And in the third stage, what we're going to do is we're going to just notice the whole breath cycle, and then it's going to become more subtle in the 4th stage because we're just noticing the way where the breath enters and exits the body. So Lisa she'll tune us into that, so you don't need to remember any of that. But it's a kind of gradual, what we're hoping for is a gradually more subtle, more nuanced appreciation of the breath. Yeah, so look for graininess, look for inconsistency. I like graininess. I like this idea, a bit like that Guinness advert. I don't know if you remember that Guinness advert where you just see the head of the Guinness. It's all swirly. This whole world kind of swirling around, right? It's kind of grainy like that. I don't know if you remember that advert. But there's this kind of grainy like that. We're looking for that kind of graininess of the breath. Yeah, it's not this steady state and this idea of the breath. We're looking for that inconsistency. And just a word of caution: don't press for trying to be really kind of like eagle-eyed for impermanence. Yeah, if you notice you're doing that, things are gonna start to feel a little tense. Yeah, so just notice and make. Keeping an eye on the tension will help you tune in to whether you're forcing your attention too hard. Yeah. So take it lightly. Don't kind of pressurise ourselves with this reflection. Just remember, this is just a lens that we're using to look through our spirits during this particular meditation. Okay. So. I think that's enough for me. So now we're looking forward to actually doing it. So Lisa's going to guide us through the meditation.
Thank you. Okay, so as Mike and I said, we're going to do the full stage mindfulness of breathing, and we're going to start off just by tuning back into the body awareness we developed at the beginning of the evening, and then moving into the first 2 stages, with the counting, using those again to further stabilise our awareness. And then as we move on to the third and fourth stage, we'll be using those stages just as an opportunity to further investigate the sort of fluctuations in our experience of breathing. So finding again a comfortable yet upright posture to do the meditation. Tuning in first of all just to the sensations of contact. Aware of gravity, drawing your lower body down to the floor. And noticing the sensations of your legs on the floor. Your sitting bones in the chair. Allowing those to ground you. And noticing the sense of uplift in your upper body without a sense of straining. Tuning back into any other sensations of contact in your body. Perhaps your hands in your lap, your arms by your side. Aware of the face. If you notice any tension in the face, perhaps softening those muscles slightly. If it feels natural, perhaps softening your mouth into a slight smile. And if you haven't already, gently closing your eyes if that feels okay to do. Tuning back into the sensations of breathing. Any thoughts and feelings might be showing up in your experience right now. And throughout the practice, as best we can, just bringing a kindly awareness, a warm and friendly interest in whatever we notice. Reminding ourselves that we can just return to the practice as many times as we need to if we notice that our minds have wandered off. Mindfulness of breathing. So in the first stage, we're simply noticing the sensations of the out-breath and lightly marking the end of each out-breath with a count. So breathing in, breathing out, and counting 1. Breathing in, breathing out, and counting 2. And in this way, counting all the way up to 10, and then starting at 1 again. And if your mind wanders off and you forget your count, then that's fine. Just return to starting at 1. And if you notice that you've counted beyond 10, then that's fine too, that happens. And again, you can just begin at 1 again. So noticing the sensations of breathing with particular emphasis on the out-breath. And counting at the very end of that. And if you notice your mind has wandered off, it's wandered on to the sounds of the rain or any thoughts or feelings or sensations, that's fine. Try not to get caught up in where it's gone and just simply coming back to counting again. Now moving on to the second stage, where we're still counting, but we're shifting the count to the beginning of the in-breath. So counting 1, breathing in, breathing out. Counting 2, breathing in, breathing out. And carrying on in this way up until 10. Marking each in-breath lightly with the count. And then when we reach 10, just returning to 1 again. And as before, just simply returning to 1 whenever we notice that our mind has wandered off. So bringing the emphasis of our awareness onto the in-breath as we mark the start of it with our counting. Coming back to counting whenever we notice that our mind has wandered off. Coming back to awareness of the in-breath. So moving on to the third stage, and then this stage we're dropping the counting, and bringing our awareness now to the whole cycle of the breath as it flows in and out of our body. holding our whole body in awareness, from the feet on the floor, right up to the crown of the head. Our whole body, the container for the breath, as it moves in and out of the whole body. Noticing the breath sensations in different parts of the body. The rise and fall of the abdomen, the rib cage, the shoulders, the whole of the upper torso, being lifted and gently deflated by the sensations of the breath moving in and out. Even sensing the breath moving in and out of the peripheral regions of the body, the hands, feet and legs, the head. And as we hold the sensations of breathing in this broad awareness, noticing how these sensations are changing in every moment. Our experience of the breath will be more or less vivid in different areas of the body. From moment to moment, our experience of the breath is always changing. Some breaths may feel smoother, more ragged than others. Some breaths will be shallower or deeper than others, slightly faster or slower. And the pattern of sensations associated with each moment of the breath is changing. Rather than a continual flow of experience, breath sensations will be flickering in and out of different areas of the body. Bringing a curiosity and openness to that if we can. Noticing the changes in feeling tone associated with the breath sensations. Times, feeling tone may be pleasant at the breath. Other times it may be neutral or less pleasant. Noticing the changes in that too. Noticing how we might have fleeting thoughts about our breathing, or the different sensations, with the feeling tones associated with the breath. Our experience of these is always changing as well. Noticing our awareness of all of these things, the sensations of the breath in different parts of the body, the feelings attached to that, associated with each of the sensations, any thoughts we may have, how all of these are changing too, how our awareness itself is coming and going. Times we might feel very aware of particular parts of our experience of breathing. In other moments we might be more aware of other aspects of our experience, of sounds or other thoughts or feelings not associated with the breathing. How the awareness we bring is changing in every moment too. As best we can, not forcing our experience in any way, not clinging to any sensations and pushing them away, but simply being aware of the change that's already there in our experience. Not needing to do anything, simply dropping any effort and bringing our awareness to all the changes that are already present. As we're aware of the different sensations of breathing moving in and out of our body, just noticing what it's like to be aware of all these changes without needing to do anything. Now moving on to the fourth stage of the experience, and narrowing our attention down to simply bring our focus to where the breath enters and leaves the body, refining our awareness to where we notice those sensations. So it may be around the rim of the nostrils, or the upper lip, or the tip of the nose. As best we can, allowing the attention to rest there. Aware of the sensations of the breath as it comes in and leaves the body. And within this narrower field of awareness, just around the nose, of the nostrils, of the lip, just noticing how these sensations are changing too. The sensations of the breath maybe flickering across the skin on our face. We notice them as we breathe in and out. And there may be other changes in the texture of the breath too. In the smoothness, the strength of the sensations over our skin, or even in the temperature of the breath. These sensations too are changing in every moment. And how the feeling tone associated with these sensations may also be changing. Different thoughts may be coming and going too, as we bring in our awareness to the breath. Now awareness too of the breath. As our breath enters and leaves the body is also changing. Some moments we feel more concentrated. In other moments our attention may be drawn away. We can include that too in our wider awareness of how our experience is changing in every moment. Bring in as best we can a sense of allowing to that. Opening up into this awareness of the change in our experience. And for the last few moments of the practice, simply being aware of the experience of sitting again. And absorbing the effects of the practice, whatever they may be. Noticing what might have changed since the beginning of the practice. And any other sensations and feelings and thoughts coming in and going out of your awareness. Lightly resting the awareness on the breathing until the sound of the bell brings the practice to a close.
Thanks, Lisa. Very good. Okay, so let's just see if there's anyone else I've missed here. So we've I never know how to say it. Is it Giuseppe? No, it's not, is it?
I think it's good.
Gertie, yeah. Okay. Oh, Alison, so you probably called it up. It's the rain. That's the rain that you were hearing. If you were worried by the sound, we've got a real, torrential kind of rain gutter thing going on.
It sounds like the gutter burst at one
Yeah,
stage,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
So that's what you. I think the mics are actually all right. All right. So look, we've got a bit of time for questions. So if you've got any questions at home, just put them in the chat box. Yeah, I wondered what you guys, if you had any comments or reflections on that way of looking at meditation, looking into meditation, whether that was anything novel in there for you.
I kind of had a question about what you were saying before the meditation, about this sense of me being in here, being useful for doing stuff. How can you kind of take this sense of impermanence or emptiness of self into your life outside of meditation? Because surely that's ultimately one of the goals here.
Yeah, that's a good question, yeah. I mean, I think as a rough, we'll get into this area probably, I think in the fifth or sixth week in more depth, but I think as a rule of kind of thumb, the more one feels kind of tight or self-preoccupied, caught up in oneself, the more the tighter one's body feels. Yeah, it's a direct correlation between body and mind in that way. Yeah? So a really good example is like if you're doing the public speaking, it's the number one public fear apparently, public speaking. They say people more fear of that than they are of death. Interesting, isn't it? But anyway, so you've got this real sense of contraction, haven't you, before you go up, a real sense of, me, very, very, very separate from everybody out there, yeah? Or embarrassment is another kind of closely kind of correlate thing, you really get an acute sense of, God, haven't we all experienced that, particularly in teenage years, with the blush comes on, you feel it coming on, oh no, and you feel so like everyone's looking. So do you feel really tight in your experience, yeah? The converse is probably true as well. If the more fluid, relaxed you feel, say in a conversation with a really good friend, you start to lose this sense of like where I start and they begin, you kind of, there's just this kind of, you're just in this thing, in this kind of atmosphere together. Your self-sense has relaxed, So I think, I hope this answers your question, but I think we can start looking for that, start looking for that in our day-to-day and looking for those, how tight do we feel in our body, or how open and relaxed we feel, as a kind of barometer of how kind of fixed we're making ourselves. And this type of reflection is going to help that, because you start to see, don't you, like, God, like you're bringing so much in there, Lisa, weren't you? What were all the things you were bringing in? You're bringing lots of aspects of experience. What were all the...
Yeah, so like the physical sensations, just like the feeling tones, we notice about that, like, what our reaction is, do we find it pleasant or unpleasant, what thoughts we might have coming and going, how aware we are, where our awareness is right now. So all those different like sort of components of our experience, and then every moment. It's complicated, isn't it?
There's a lot going on, isn't there? So there's all these, there's the five senses, but in Buddhism they're thought of as a sixth sense. The mind, which includes images, thoughts, recollections, memory, is thought of as sixth sense. So that's a kind of stimulus, that's kind of going on. So when you start to tune into the flux of all of that, including then feeling tone and sensation, etc., it starts to loosen up this idea of like, what is this kind of me as this kind of fixed kind of thing, person.
And I know I can get really fixed on things, and then I get like narrowing my attention, like with the public speaking example. Like for me, if I'm in a job interview, I get really anxious about that. And I remember being in an interview a couple of years ago, and I could see my hand shaking, and I could see that the interviewers noticed my hand shaking, and I was starting to get really fixed on that. And then I managed then just to sort of ground myself and just sort of, let go of the tension a bit. And then my hand stopped shaking then, because I was aware of other things in my experience, because I broadened my awareness back out again. And then that experience changed then, whereas in my mind in that instance, like my hands are going to shake and it's going to be terrible.
You get locked into this idea of how people are seeing you, and how you, and then is that quite different from how you want to be seen, and that all creates tension and all of that. So at this level, because what's happening with meditation, you're closing your eyes, but it's just your mind, right? That's what you're experiencing. Mind has been made into a much smaller thing in our modern society than it is. Mind is, in a certain way, everything is mind. The way you wake up in the morning, this idea of getting out the wrong side of bed, well, that's just your mind, isn't it? It colours everything. So you can start to see that there's these micro fluctuations in your mood, and that's affecting how you're actually relating to people and so on. So I think just as one starts to tune into that aspect of life, you can start to loosen up. And the purpose is not to then kind of come up with, as a great theory, kind of walk around like, that's impermanent, fixing everything is impermanent and being all clever about it. It's not that, it's the release that the Buddha's talking about. It's this sense of release and connection, and that's what we're kind of, in a way, hoping for through kind of investigating in this way, isn't it? Just see if there's anything at home. Oh, right, this is a bit left centre. From Jen. How do you make a proper Buddhist altar? Right. Gosh. Well, actually, Jen, probably what I'd say is maybe look at our YouTube channel, because there's a whole section on ritual, the significance of the shrine, and so on and so forth. So I want to meet you with that question, because it is interesting. How do we bring a shrine alive? But a lot of it is covered in there. All right. So I think we'll draw the questions to an end there. I just want to say a quick thing before we move into the final offering of the night, which is the Zoom meetup, which I'll say a thing or two about in a moment. But yeah, I just wanted to say about what's, actually maybe I'll just base on Jen's question. So on the shrine, what we're bringing to light is the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And often you've got incense as the Sangha, you've got the light of the candles being the Buddha, and the effervescence, the changeable beauty, the impermanence as represented in the flowers. So these are the things that we really respond to, or we really look towards. The Buddha, this way of transmitting truth, which is called the Dharma, and the Sangha, this body of people that are more or less committed to that type of investigation, supporting and friendship. And God, we really need that. We really need that in these times, and it really is worth bowing our head to that in these times that feel more and more disintegrate, more and more polarised. Yeah. So this is what we're trying to do here with the community: create a kind of a light for one another, to kind of work more with more love and more awareness in our lives. And that's how things change. You'll talk to someone with more awareness, more love, they'll respond, and that will move into their interactions. That's how things change, and we are affecting each other all the time. So that's what we're trying to do with these offerings from the Buddhist Centre in various ways: courses, classes, and retreats. But it takes time, and it takes energy, and it takes money to keep that going. These are all resources that we need to keep that going and to flourish that for ourselves and others. So so this is a appeal for thinking about these evenings. In a way, we used to have this wooden bowl, didn't we? People put in money, old-fashioned money. Do you remember that in the bowl? Or a little card reader when we got a bit teched up. But the fact is that, you could think about coming along to these evenings and just think about putting something in the dana bowl. And we used to recommend £5 unwage or £10 wage. So you could think about just doing that. And Jack's put the links up in the chat. For you to do. Really easy, just as easy as actually putting it in the card reader of the bowl. So you could just do that, or if you wanted to just not go through the hassle of that every week, you could just set up a standing order, which is good for us, and it's good for. Dare I say, it's actually good for you because what one commits to, what one puts one resources in, it sends a real message into your kind of self as to that's what you value. If we put our money into cafe lattes and bits of cake, that's a very particular message. So yeah, you could just kind of body up what you love. So that's that. So finally, yeah, I've particularly kind of invited people off the course, the Journey in the Guide. Really strong course. I really love being on that course with whoever of you out there that was on it. I know that quite a few people have come off that course and come to the Monday night. So why not make it a reunion? Come onto the Zoom call. It's going to start in about kind of 8-10 minutes. Jack's going to put the links up. And it's going to be a chance to talk about meditation, talk about Buddhist practice, and support one another in that kind of investigation. Really, really good to talk about how things are going with practice. Yeah. So yeah, have a go, especially if you're new. Just have a dive in, have a deep dive, and give it a go. All right, so that brings us to a close for the live stream part of the night. So I just wanted to really thank Lisa. Really lovely meditation. Really, really enjoyed your meditation, what you brought to it. Really kind of took me somewhere. So really, thanks very much for that.
Thanks for the talk.
Yeah. And thanks Daisy May for being team, helping out, bringing these beautiful flowers. And thanks Jack for presiding over the tech. And thank you very much at home for helping, create this, co-creating this night together. So yeah, wish you a very good evening. Yeah, good night.